glad of being my daughter. You get to be used as examples. So, looking at parenting, like Steve was saying, I'll say it my way. You know, there's so much in life that we put a lot of effort forth to, like, figure it out. You know, we go to school. Regina went to school for, I don't even know how many years, 4 for nursing. Stephen went to school for, I don't even know how many years. You know, how are we going to qualify that? It's a lot of years, right? 18 years. I went to school for 11 years. By the way, kids, that's on top of the 12 or 13 we already did. I dropped out of kindergarten, so I can't count kindergarten. I was a kindergarten dropout. By the way, back then it wasn't mandatory. I didn't like it. I had behavioral problems, and so I dropped out after they held me down on the floor, 3 adults, and forced gum out of my mouth because I would not spit out that gum, and my mom didn't make me go back. So we had to tell my older brother he's a kindergarten flunky, and I was a dropout because he went twice. So he's got 2 masters now. So it's okay, parents. If your kids are really messing up in kindergarten, don't sweat it. They can still end up doing okay. We won't even know what Stephen did in kindergarten, so I'm sure he was a handful too. So when we look at parenting, though, we don't, you know, so much of it is by observation. We just like, well, I'll know how to do this. You know, how hard can it be? But I don't think, you know, like Regina going into nursing thought, you know, I know how to take care of a cold, and I can put a Band-Aid on, and, you know, that putting that little thing around your arm and pumping it up. You know, how hard is that? You got little numbers pop up. Okay. You know, you put that thermometer on the tongue. I don't think she went into nursing thinking, I already know this. You know, I skinned knees, and I've been sick. I know how to do all this. She studied, and she studied, and she studied. But when it comes to parenting, often we just take it for granted. I already know how to do this. We don't put that time into it. And we can approach it in a haphazardly way, and we don't put thought even as we're doing it, not even so much in advance, but even while we're doing it, like trying to figure stuff out, or what's at the root of this, or, you know, I remember one little boy I saw that he had, I don't remember what health issue he had, but there was something in his hips, and the bones hadn't developed, and so he couldn't play rough sports, or he'd break his hip. It would just pop out or break. And I know it was in the hip joints. I don't know what else. It might have been other parts of his body. But, you know, he liked to play football. He liked to do this. And he couldn't roughhouse with other boys. Can you guys imagine if you couldn't wrestle? Couldn't roughhouse? Yeah, he was really sad. He was like 9 or 10. And his parents, and he went to a Catholic school and all this, and they were Catholic. They brought him to me because I was Christian. And I remember I only saw him a couple times. I tell my husband, I work myself out of a job all the time, honey. It's constantly. It's really a downer when you work yourself out of work, and then I'm poor again. So, you know, I need people to keep coming back, but then you want to help them, and then they don't come back. So, but all I had to do is tell this little kid, I just said, you know what? God knows where you're at. He knows what's happening with you. I didn't know at that time, but he came back. He's like, you know, that just stuck with me. That it's okay. God knows. God's with me, and God loves me. And that's why I just told him that God loves him. And you might think, okay, how could it be that simple? I don't know. It would surprise me that it hadn't been told to him before. It's okay. We know we know your struggles. God loves you and knows what you're going through. And so sometimes it's like, as parents, do we listen? Do we try to figure it out? Do we just go, oh, you're just doing that again. Oh, I don't want to do that. So what we want to do with parenting is, how much effort do we put into it? Do we try to figure it out? Do we try to go, you know, like Steve said, all 5 are different. Does he try to think about how are they different? What are their needs? Their individual needs, not like, yeah. So I'm going to give you a lot of generalizations, but you got to realize your kid is individual, right? So you got to look at them, and even though I couldn't sit here and tell you everything about every child tonight, but we're going to hit on some. First thing is the whole idea of parenting being intentional. There are lots and lots of kids that are born nowadays, and it's not planned. So people are finding themselves being parents when it wasn't the intention of being a parent. But even if that's the case, once you are a parent, it needs to be intentional. We need to put that thought and the effort into it. So we want to look at how do we do it intentionally? And so if you look up the word intention in Webster's, it says that which one is resolved to do, okay? Not it's a burden, I have to do this. It's, along with what Steve was saying as far as the whole property thing, it's not. It's, I got to be resolved. I have to have this intention that I am going to parent, not just feed, clothe, and take care of a child. I'm actually going to parent. So it's resolved to parent, and it's having purpose. So there's a purpose to our actions when it comes to our children. And even thinking about when they're Candace's age, we're doing things for when she's 18 and 19. I tell Jack all the time, he is really, really making it hard for Sarah's husband. He is. He is setting him up for her to be very upset because Daddy buys Sarah something every time they go to the store. It's only $4. It's only this much money, okay? But what we do now, we're thinking of in the future, and it's that when she does get married, how's she going to interact? So we want to think about that when we're interacting with our own children as well as one another. What are we teaching them? And I'll get more into that. So it's having that purpose. So what do we think our purpose is? Well, our purpose as Christians is summed up in these two verses. It does not say, and thou may, and thou should, and thou might think about. As Christians, this is what we do. This is our purpose. This is our purpose in life. And then we take this purpose and we extend it to our children and our interactions and relationships. Because if you read these two verses, it's all about relationship. All of it. And we know scripturally we have all these parallels. It is not a coincidence that God is called our Father. And then we are called his children. There's these parallels. It's all set up. It's all structured that way. This is our purpose. Okay? So we take that purpose, and it's to love the Lord thy God, to have him first, and then to extend that to other people. So our purpose, and then we go as far as having a specific purpose. Okay? So what's our specific nature? It is to train that child up. We want to train. And again, Steve was just taking stuff. And we train them. We don't just raise them. We train them. Right? And what does train mean? Train means to cause a person to respond to discipline and instruction. To make a person efficient in some activity by instruction and repeated practice. Those are the definitions if you look up train. So when we look at parenting and intentional parenting, this is our goal. I know my goal is to have independent adults that at some point might turn around and take care of me. But I definitely want to, at some point, not be taking care of them. Even if they don't reciprocate and take care of me someday. I want them on their own. I don't want financial, emotional, all that. I like being friends. The social can continue. But I really like that. So the idea is to train. So when we look at intentional parenting, we have a purpose. The purpose is to raise them as Christians so they can be independent and fulfill those two verses I just gave you. Okay, so I had to lay that out. So there's the intention and the purpose. It didn't go anywhere. It's still not going anywhere. Oh, now I went too far. Patience. All right, here's basically what child development is. You spend the first 2 years of their life teaching them to walk and talk. You spend the next 16 years telling them to sit down and be quiet. Okay? In a nutshell, that's what child development is, okay? Teach them how to do it, and then tell them to quit doing it, right? Okay. So, when we go further, at certain ages and stages of development, you're going to find different things. Why should we even know that? Because it's going to help us then in our expectations. And I have a slide later, but expectations that aren't fulfilled lead to disappointment. Therefore, we want to have realistic expectations to start with. So that's why let's look at development so we can have realistic expectations. I would get extremely frustrated if I was trying to teach Sarah calculus right now. I would go crazy because brain development, she's not there. She's not there to sit there and listen to me either as far as instruction. So it's not even like, could she do it? She's not even willing to do it. So we would have a big battle. We want to know development. I commented to Samantha because Carter is now 16 months old. I said, you know, you and Sarah were both potty trained by the time you were 18 months old. She said, good luck with that. Grandma needs to get going then, doesn't she? But, you know, it was, what's the expectation? Now, I knew I had two girls. And so at 18 months, and it was like, with this one, never even had to use pull-ups. 18 months, she was done. She doesn't like being messy. She wasn't doing that on herself. So it was nice. Little boys, no. I said, well, probably by the time he's 4. Okay, so we want to know, you know, guide our expectations. Know what's going to happen. Parents who educate themselves about child development are better equipped than to understand their child's behavior when it comes. Because some of it we like and some of it we definitely do not like and we do not understand. And I have parents going, why is my child doing this? Is this normal? Uh-huh. It is. Yes. It's very normal. And so it helps to know. So we want to look at it. All right, so let's look. Birth to 2 years. We will see. They initially lack language. They don't use symbols even mentally to represent objects. I have a glare up here. Okay. Okay. Reflexive responding ends and intentional behavior begins, okay? Between that, because everything's just reflex at first, right, when they're born. So by the time they're 2, I mean, Carter's already gotten, I'm going to use him a lot because he's in the age range, you know, so he gets to where when he gets mad, he either hits me or he hits himself. He'll hit his mama too. He doesn't hit many other people, but he'll get mad, he'll smack you, and you got to know it's coming. When you tell him and you're holding him, you better know because he's going to slap you right in the face. But we know it's coming, and you go, no, honey. So if he can't reach you, he'll hit himself, okay? And it's like, whatever. I don't overreact to that. I'm not going to tell him, oh no, baby, don't do that. You know, because then it's going to go, see how I can control Grandma? I'll just hit myself. She'll do what I want. All right, so it changes to intentional behavior. And then we have object concept. Okay, they're getting basic language skills. They can recognize objects. Their coordination and sensory information, motor activity, all that's developing. I don't spend a whole lot on this because, you know, they at this point in life, they grow probably, their brain develops more than any other time. But it just kind of gets them to where they're fun to be around, right? Because they kind of start as, you know, they're not doing too much. And so really by 2, it's very exciting. But it's, you know, so the early exploration of the environment, they want to explore stuff. We want them to do that. Do you ever think about why playpens went out? I mean, when Samantha was little, playpens were the thing. And before that, did you put Stephen in a playpen? Were they in? Playpens. You know, you got this little thing, you stick your kid in it. Do you see them on the market anymore? But most of those aren't they're not the same concept. Pack and play is kind of like, I can take you and, you know, he can sleep in it or take a nap in it. But as far as your kid staying in it for hours, we don't do that anymore. Ever thought about why? They're not around anymore. Why do we not have playpens? Because we figured it was better for kids. There are critical points in the brain development to where they need to be exploring their environment. So we don't want to restrict that. Because what? And so we don't. We let them explore more. We give them bigger regions. We might use baby gates. We don't block them off, but we give them a bigger area. We use those little safety plugs in the sockets. I remember kicking Samantha when she was 2. I was on the phone. Back then, it was attached to a wall, so you can't walk all over. I'm attached to a wall. And she had a screwdriver. And I saw her. She was going for the socket. And the only thing I could reach her with was my foot, so I kicked her. and she went, okay. But I couldn't do it fast enough. I couldn't, just reach out to her. But, so they're going to explore. It's like, let me put this in that socket. So we do, they want to explore. We want them to explore things. All right. How long should I wait, Steve? Oh, there's object permanence. I saw that showed up. Okay. Then we have 18 to 2. They're going to be dressing themselves. You want to give them choices. Start choices then. They're going to want to do things anyhow. They're going to want to start feeding themselves. They want to have that spoon and that fork. Yes, it's messier. Get a dog or put newspaper down. Anyhows, I got videos. My 3 dogs all around Carter eating. They're all around the bout. It's like, are you going to drop something? Samantha just showed me today. I'm like, oh, I was talking to Carter on that face thing or, on the phone. What is it? FaceTime. And he was eating. And I said, hi, baby, where's Sadie? And their dog. And Samantha scanned down. Where there was Sadie's head right there under the tray, right in his lap. So they want to feed themselves. You play naming games, right? And we want to do this. We want to let them take that spoon, and even though when they take it, they're going to go like that, and that food goes flying, right? But they're starting, and it's fun. They're going to play with blocks. They're going to start looking at books and really like books. They're going to ask for favorite books. They're going to follow simple instructions. They're going to start scribbling and painting and doing all that kind of fun stuff. At 2 years of age, they're going to walk. They're going to go up and down steps. There's solitary play. Kids at 2. See that solitary play. They don't want to play with other kids. They just don't. Walk into a 2-year-old preschool area. They're playing over there. Don't be upset if they're not playing. They're not going to engage other kids. If you want to, you can try to do it. They're not going to, because all they're going to do is go and take that toy out of that other kid's hand. They don't do cooperative play, but they really just want to do their own thing. They like to play by themselves. And that lasts until they're about 4. So they just kind of like to do my own thing. All right, they say phrases. They really like to look at books. That can be a frustration to parents because we don't have time to sit there, and we don't like reading that same book over and over and over and over and over because we get tired of it, and they just want the same book over and over, right? Read it. And then I get parents going, oh, my kid can read. No, your kid's memorized. They can't read. They've just memorized it, word for word. They even know if you skip a page. And they'll tell you skipped a page. Okay, that comes in right around this time. Before that, you can get away with it. I'll turn 3 pages at one time. So, not after. Okay. They're more responsive to humor. They're going to create their own humor. Okay. It might not be anything you find funny. They're going to gain some independence in toileting. They enjoy physical affection. Okay. They also do me do it, mommy do it. Me do it, me do it, me do it, me do it. And if they don't want to do it, it's mommy do it, mommy do it, mommy do it. Or daddy do it. But often it's mommy do it. Okay, so they get into that. They have difficulty making decisions. So if you give them a choice and they can't make it for them. Don't force them to make a decision if they're really having a difficult time with it. And that's where it comes into knowing your children. Oh, yeah, 2, yeah, always 2. Sorry, yes, it's always 2 choices. If you go and there to pick out a book, you say, you want this book or this book? They still might go, I don't know. Okay, well, we'll get this one. And you just move on real fast. But yeah, do you want to wear your red pajamas, your blue pajamas? You don't go, well, go, you want your green ones or red ones or yellow ones or purple ones. You're just going to confuse them. There's research now that young people, 18, 19-year-olds, they are, in 17, they are faced with so many options when it comes to college and what to do with their future that they're withdrawing because they're overwhelmed with the possibilities. And it's really hard if you have too many possibilities to make those decisions. And they're doing some research there and finding out kids are they're going like in this fog, and they're just going, it's overload. And they're really frustrated, and then they're anxious. What if I make the wrong decision? All right, so I jumped ahead of 2-year-olds. All right, they're resistant to change. They don't like it. Sometimes you can say, okay, you got 5 more minutes, and we're leaving. That might work. It might not, especially at this age. So it's not anything to have to pick up a kid, and they're screaming and hollering, walking out of McDonald's or out of the store or any play area. Kids don't want to go. There is a reason. What? Yes, there is a reason, like at Chuck E. Cheese, they stamp your arm, because you would think, well, they'll be screaming and hollering going. No, that's all the kids. They're all screaming and hollering. It's not just like a stranger's kidnapping them. So when you leave, they got to check and make sure you got your right kid, because nobody wants to leave, right? They scream and holler. All right, so you get all that. They can be bossy, demanding, easily frustrated. All right, they're going to say no, 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 no. We're going to talk a little later on how to avoid some of that. Some of it's not modeling to them, no, 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 no. So, because they will feed it back to you. So they're going to say no a lot. They're going to do the opposite of what is requested. I know with Sarah, I'd say, okay, you're going to lay down, but don't you fall asleep. Don't you dare fall asleep, or I'm going to get mad at you. Yeah, but that was her with everything. If I wanted to do something, I had to tell her the opposite. Sarah, don't go in your bedroom. Oop, there she goes, right in there. Okay. They lack patience. They're afraid of strangers, which is good, right? When I have a kid come in my office and they're not afraid of me, that's not a good sign. And usually they're a little older. Everything's mine, mine, mine. That's my toy. And that's with trying to do cooperative play. I have no interest in that toy at all until you pick it up. Then it's mine. Well, you weren't playing with it. Don't try to reason with a 2-year-old. 2-year-olds don't have that skill. But you weren't playing with it, honey. Well, just let them play with it for a little while. It's mine. Okay. They're going to test the limits. That can be very exhausting. That is normal. We want them testing the limits. Why test the limits? See, pastors don't want their church members testing the limits. But what does testing the limits do for you? It tells you the limits. It does. It makes it really clear. It creates a sense of safety and security for them. So when you feel like pulling your hair out or screaming because they just are constantly doing what you've asked them not to do, not doing what you asked them to do, throwing their food, doing whatever they do, go, they're feeling safe and secure because I have limits. I have limits. As they pull all those books off the bookcase another time and clear it all out. Oh, but I'm good because I got limits. They're going to feel safe. They're going to feel secure. It does. It helps to really develop that. And we want them to have limits so that they can have that safety and know who they are and all that good brain development. Okay, 2 to 7. They begin to represent the world mentally. The thought is very egocentric, okay, which is they are the center of the world and others see the world as we do, okay, as I do. They have their own form of logic. So it is really dangerous to ask a child between 2 and 7, why did you do that? Because all you're probably going to do is get angry at their response. They don't focus, they do not focus on 2 aspects of the situation, so they lack conservation. I'm going to give you some examples of this stuff, okay? They engage in animism, which is giving life to inanimate objects, and they do artificialism, which is environmental events are man-made. All right, so here's some examples. Egocentrism. So why does it get dark out? What do you guys think? Why does it get dark out? Go ahead. Because parents want you to go to bed. See, you're too old. Come on, why does it get dark out? Huh? Because I close my eyes. So I can go to sleep. Oh, you're almost there. How old are you? Oh. Why does the sun shine? Go ahead. Good answer. What do you think? So you can play the Wii? Keep me warm. Why is there snow? Exactly, so I can play. See, Caleb's got it all down. He has the brain. He knows there. He's been there. He's still there. So don't be shocked when he's a little egocentric, okay? The world is all about me. And you guys see the world as I do, not differently. It is important to remember that. Egocentrism lasts. We want it to start decreasing, but it really doesn't start decreasing to typically around 15 or 16. 35, 45, yeah. Okay. All right. It will stay. But you got to keep that in mind that they do. It's not anything intentional, because what we do interpret that as, you're so selfish, you're so self-centered. No, I'm egocentric. Kids, got to learn that word. No, I'm just egocentric, Mom. I haven't developed, I'm developmentally appropriate, and I haven't moved past that stage yet. Okay. But as parents, you want to remember that's truly how they see the world. You know, I have no idea what it would have been like to live in the days when we thought everything went around the earth. That the sun went around the earth, that everything else, I don't know what it would be like. Or when we thought that the earth was flat, but they all thought it. So I don't know how that would change my thoughts. I don't know how it is, because I don't remember. As a child, I can't equate to that as far as when we think that everything in the world's about me. But I do know from what I do professionally that when kids come in, when parents are getting a divorce, it's their fault. When someone died, it has something to do with them. And we have to look at it that way. I might have mentioned, you know, I was taking this class on loss, and I had to interview a 9 or a 10-year-old kid or something. Well, I had one at home at that time. Her name was Samantha. So I interviewed her, and I found out that she figured, and she'd had a loss. Her grandfather had died a few years before that. And I found out that she thought her grandfather was in hell, and it was all her fault. Yeah. Pretty intense to carry for a couple years, isn't it? Grandpa's in hell and it's all my fault. So we had to explore that. We had to talk about that. I didn't know it. Wouldn't have known it if I didn't talk to her. That's why it's important. You know, we want to talk to our kids. We want to make it, you know, explore things. There's going to be stuff we miss because it's just so, it's not even logical at all. So it's not going to enter our brain. But we want to think that they are egocentric. So we want to look at, okay, when they're doing something, is that, how am I going to deal with that? Because we can't just say, stop thinking the world evolves around you. They can't. Their brain's not there yet. So it's how do we work with that? Why is the grass green, Caleb? Go. Because that's my favorite color. All right. Conservation is, they don't have that, understand that if you change mass, weight, volume, but you shift it, that it stays the same. Okay? So here we have 2 pizzas. They're exact same size. Okay? Cut one into 8 pieces, cut one into 6 pieces. Okay? Cassandra, if you're not very hungry, which pizza do you want to eat? Go ahead. They're both the same size. I cut one into 6 pieces. I cut one into 8 pieces. If you're not very hungry, which one do you want to eat? Yeah, see, they both said 6. What do you think? If you're not very hungry, which one do you want to eat? What if you're really super hungry? You're really, really hungry. Which one do you want to eat? The 8. Okay, see, and they're both the same size. So adults, hopefully we all know that if you cut in 8 pieces, those pieces will be smaller. If you're not hungry, you want one of them. If you're really hungry, you want a bigger piece. Okay, but they're not going to have that. So we want to remember that. They aren't, they start learning that, but it usually doesn't come till after 7. All right, so animism. All right, why do trees have leaves? Go ahead, shout it out. To keep them warm. Why do stars twinkle? It's not about you now. It's giving it human qualities. Why do they twinkle? Because they're happy. Why do boats go? Where do boats go at night? Well, they go to sleep like we do. What do you think? Come on. All right, artificialism. Why is the sky blue? But it's artificial, meaning you're taking environmental events and making it something to do with human deeds because someone painted it. What makes it rain? Someone emptying a water can. Very good. What causes thunder? A man grumbling. Okay? All right. So when we look at a thought process, here's another example. Here's the parent. What makes the wind? Here's Julia, the trees. Parent, how do you know? I saw them waving their arms. How does that make the wind? Because see, here, can you feel it? See, feel it? And there's just a lot of them. It makes a wind. See? What makes the wind on the ocean? It blows there from the land. No, it's the waves. The waves. Making the wind. That's how children are going to think. We need to know that. Because it doesn't do any good to take our logic, try to put it in their heads. I deal with kids that have been sexually abused or abused in some way, some trauma, when they're younger. And I have to keep this in mind because as adults, they put their adult brains back into those little bodies and then they interpret things totally different than the reality of the situation that it was then. Because I have to get them to realize their brain was not their brain now back then. My brain at 50 is not my brain at 5. And so we change it. We go and we interpret events, and then we put blame on ourselves. Why did I do that? Why did I think that? Why didn't I know that? Why didn't I do this different? And we do a whole lot of responsibility there where there was none because we didn't think that way. This thing's all about me. I'm the center. All right. Should we take a break or keep going? Take a break. All right. We have a break. I don't know how long. I have no clock. Have imaginary friends. They use sentences. They learn how to use pronouns. They have better bladder control. Those are all good things, right? They brush their teeth. They also say, don't look at me. Don't talk. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. They may be good for others and monsters for you. It may seem like nothing pleases them. They're emotionally inconsistent. They're shy. Then they're bold. They're scared. Then they're adventurous. They pick their nose. They play with themselves. And they quit napping. So those bottom ones we need to attend to just a little bit. It's really okay. We can start to try to put some socially appropriate behavior in place there. But it really is okay that they play with themselves. It's not unusual. They're exploring their body. Now you can start saying where appropriate places to do that are, let's not do that right now. We're at church, okay? That's okay. That would be really good to do, right? Don't do that right now. But we don't want to teach them, we talked a whole lot as far as sexuality and that kind of stuff. We don't want to go, that's bad, no, that's nasty. Okay, so we got to watch what we're instilling in their brains. Okay, don't touch that. It is really surprising how many females as adults, I have to work on and going, yeah, just look at yourself down there. Oh, no, I couldn't. It's your body. your body, okay? I know it's not about kids, but it's like what we do to them as kids. Then it hangs on. They're like, oh, no, that's nasty. No, it's not, okay? So watch what we tell them, okay? So we want to be okay with stuff. I think boogers are really gross, too. But you can go, here, use a Kleenex. Wipe it on a Kleenex. Don't wipe it on your wall. All right. Don't eat it. Okay. We also know that 3-year-olds cannot be left alone for even a very short period of time. Okay? They are very curious and adventuresome. They will get into anything they can. And if they have a twin or they have another sibling, look out. Okay? So we got to watch them all the time. We don't leave 3-year-olds. Sarah was 3 when I lost her in a store. Did I lose her? I didn't. She climbed in a rack and sat down. And as I was calling her, she would not come to me. She wouldn't make a peep. So as we're looking all over the store, and it was one of those strip mall stores, so you walk outside, there's a parking lot. And as I have everybody in the store looking for her, and I walk outside, she's not walking around outside, I walk back in, and we're yelling, Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. Sarah's having a blast because Sarah's playing hide and seek. It wasn't so much fun for me. But I didn't beat her. I wanted to. But I didn't because she scared me really, really bad. But we know that's what 3-year-olds are going to do. I know Dad talks about, and Stephen was a little older, the time he asked him, why'd you lose me, Dad? Or why'd you get lost? Kind of thing. Because, it was Mom. Mom went off and left me or something. Yeah, Mom went and left me. Mom's got lost. I didn't, kind of thing. But, they're going to blame it. But it's, at 3, they're going to do stuff. They're going to get into stuff. They are going to be creative in ways that we would prefer they aren't. Don't ask a 3-year-old why they colored on the wall. I'm telling you, don't do it. I think Sarah, was she 3 when she painted her shirt? She was 3, and someone had given her, and it was from a garage sale. It was a white shirt, though. It was really nice, no stains on it. Like, whoever gets that is at a garage sale. But someone gave it to us. It was her size. She put it on. She was outside with her finger paint, and her dad marches her, and he goes, look what she did. And she had painted her whole shirt. And I said, I said, pull your arms out. I turned around. I said, okay, now go paint this side. That's what 3-year-olds do. We don't want to panic. We don't want to get upset. It was my fault I left that white shirt on her. Yeah. So it's like, let's paint both sides. So, we want to relax. 4-year-olds, they cut with scissors, cooperative play. That's where that cooperative play comes in. That's a really good time for them to start a preschool. Now, if they go to preschool, Sarah started preschool when she was 2 because we wanted her around other kids. I really needed to meet other parents that had young children so that we could do some play dates. And, having a child at 40, my friends did not have infants. So I had to meet some parents that did. And so, she'd started early, but there wasn't the idea that she'd really be social until she was 4 because cooperative play really starts then. They're really imaginative. They're very sure of themselves. They know it all. They also talk way too much. They ask why incessantly. Why? I know every car on the side of the road that we passed when Samantha was this age, we had to pray for them. It could be empty. We had no idea, but we got to pray for those people, Mom. We got to pray for those people. So they have different ideas, but it's always why? Why do we have to do that? Why is that? Why is this? It's going to drive you crazy. They're fascinated with bowel movements. That's okay. They're still fascinated, huh? Okay. They want to know exact details of stuff. They're going to ask lots and lots of questions. They do lots of out-of-bounds behavior. They're often negative. Okay, let's go to 5-year-olds. 5-year-olds, they dress themselves without help. They can. Okay? They're self-assured. They're highly cooperative in play. They have special friends. It's at 5 they can start that turn-taking. They're really good at that. Okay? They can learn that skill. You do it for this long. I can do it for this long. Special friends doesn't mean, that means I can have a best friend. I can have someone I really like. I prefer this person over to that person, okay? They're organized, can be at least, and they enjoy simple table games, turn-taking, and they print simple letters. They also say, try and make me. They might not say those words, but they definitely have that attitude. Okay? Try and make me. They have difficulty admitting they have done wrong. They want to fall into the I can't a lot. If they don't want to do something, they don't want to try it. I can't. Once emotional, they can get really emotionally worked out, and then they can't stop it. Okay? They just get so overwhelmed. That's not the time to talk to them. Okay? That's the time to send them to their room. That's the time to tell them to go lay down. They need you to decrease all external stimulation. So however that is, you could sit and hold them. Okay? You can tickle their back, you can tickle their head, you can do that. But you kind of want to decrease any interaction. So you really don't want to be talking to them. Even if they're talking, just let them talk. Don't answer them. That's really hard sometimes for parents. It's a really good skill, though, to let your kid talk and don't answer them when they're out of control. Wait until they're in control and then look at it. Often they're just too tired, and that'll set those kind of things off when they get really too tired. They may take things that don't belong to them. I think I told you about Joshua Goin, my nephew, who is now 12. First day of school, kindergarten, he came home with racers, and then he came home with something else. And at first he's like, someone gave them to me, and they gave them to me, and then my sister discovered, no, he's stealing. And so she had to talk with the teacher, and she felt horrible. Oh, no, my child's a kleptomaniac. Okay, so 5-year-olds, they take things that don't belong to them. That can come back to the whole, it is what it is. Don't know if that's how it should be, but it is. So don't overreact to your little thieving child. Okay. They'll talk with their mouth full. 6 to 8-year-olds, more independent, stronger sense of right and wrong. Prior to, a 5-year-old, they tend to do what is right because they fear getting a spanking. They fear the punishment. They fear the consequence. Something is right or wrong dependent on, will I get in trouble for it? Once they get to 6 or 8, they can start doing a little bit more reasoning. They can put more thought into it as far as what's right, what's wrong. It's not just based on a punishment. I don't know where I left off. Beginning awareness of future, growing understanding of their place in the world, more attentive to friendships, like growing desire to be liked, rapid development of mental skills, really big. Because at this age is when they start doing what? Reading. Yeah, they start reading. They really catch on to reading typically in here. And then they'll start reading and reading and reading, and that really is a huge then brain development. So greater ability to describe experiences, less focus on oneself, more concern for others. They start being aware of how my actions might affect someone else. How do you think they felt? Okay. They might act fresh. They may refuse to bathe. They may make irritating throaty noises. They're clumsy. They're easily disappointed. They're sensitive to others' impression of him or her. They are self-critical, and they have many fears. Fears come out at this age. Sarah's was that there were wolves in our house. And she knew positively there were wolves because she saw their eyes out our sliding glass window. At night, she would see their eyes out there, didn't you? They were red. Yeah, see, she said they were red. She's still going to hold on to that she saw wolves' eyes outside our window. We live in Texas. There's probably wolves, but we have coyotes, but we don't. We have a fence. We're like, honey, there's no wolves in that. We know it if there were, but you can't reason. It was like she was afraid. There's wolves in our house. Okay? So many fears. And you're like, where's this come from? You wait till they're 9. No. Let them grow up. just try to be sensitive to it, and you can use reason, but you don't want to tell them, oh, you can give them the reason. You don't want to tell them, oh, that's just stupid, that's ridiculous. It's just like, I understand, here, I'll walk you in. Some people use imitation spray, and they spray for monsters. I have the monster spray. They might look under the bed. They might look in the closet. So you appease them to some extent. Because a lot of times it's around bedtime. It's at night. It's with going to bed. It's being in a bedroom by themselves. It helps if they share a room at that age. There's a lot of kids that, even if they don't share a room, they share a room to sleep. One is going in the other's room. In my opinion, that's okay. I know my nephew, Joshua, I think he was probably 4 or 5, and he started sleeping on a mattress in Megan's room on the floor. And he probably did that till he was 9, 10. Finally got into his own bedroom. But it can be. There's just, because what happens is now they're out home, they're going places. So they're hearing from other kids. They're seeing things. There might be TV shows, there's movies, all of their books introduce fears. And before that, they really know that. And we have to be careful. We tell younger kids, if anybody, don't let anybody grab you if they do, scream and that. But we really, when they start leaving our care, when they're out of our sight, is when we start saying that more. Okay, now if anybody ever approaches you, well, that's going to instill fear in them. Someone's going to take me. We just told Sarah, they'll bring you back. It's okay, honey, they'll bring you back. We love her so much. She's my sweetie. See, I embarrassed her. I'm sorry, honey. Okay, so, we want to be careful what we say, but some of it is just being calm and appeasing them to some extent with those fears. But watch how we instill them, too. Because knowing your child helps. Like Scooby-Doo could be extremely scary for one person. I know Little Mermaid can be. There's a sea witch. Just read in the book. A lot of children's stories have something scary in them. So just be more sensitive to that. And they love to argue. That's the last one. They love to argue. How is arguing helpful? You learn how to think? Yes? Exactly. Communication skills are developed. Right? You learn to think critically, to develop a good debate, how to make your point. It can be frustrating, but you got to realize when they're doing it, it's like, wow, I got a smart kid. Look how much they argue with me. There are times you cut it off, right? There's some things that are just not open for discussion. But allowing them to some extent to respectfully argue with you is a good thing. 9 to 12, they're going to develop conservation concepts. Remember those ones as far as the whole pizza thing? Most 9 to 12-year-olds could answer that one. Caleb came up and gave me the right answer afterwards. They can adapt the viewpoint of others or adopt it. They can classify objects in series. There's a comprehension of basic relationship concepts as far as heavier and lighter. Most of them know that if you take a heavy object, like a casserole dish, and put it in a big sink of water, that it's going to float. Part of that, the kids are going to think, oh, no, that's heavy, it'll sink. They can start thinking about how's a plane fly in the air. It's definitely heavier than air. They can think about how a ship can stay afloat on water. So they're developing a lot of skills. Logical thought concerning tangible objects develops. They're still not quite there with good logic, deductive, and inductive reasoning skills, but they're getting there. So their logic can still be somewhat off. So when we're just talking to them, we can shut them down. As adults, we can go, well, that just makes no sense. Or we can help them to see and develop. Vygotsky did a whole lot of research with kids and children development. And what he came up with is what he called this zone of proximal development, okay? On this side is stuff kids can do all by themselves. On this side is the stuff they can't do at all. But the zone of proximal development is where they have scaffolding. They have adults, and primarily parents or other adults, that are giving them structure and assistance, because there's so many things that kids can do with just a little assistance. They can't quite do it on their own yet, okay? And again, there's stuff they'll never be able to do, until they're older and their brain develops. But there's this zone of proximal development, and it's attending to the stuff in there and giving them, parents and other adults, we set up a scaffold for them, a structure to help them. And so when we get into dealing with a lot of that logical thought, that's what we want to do. We want to help them to see how to reason it out. And a lot of that's going to come because of tone and the words that we use when we interact with them. And that's going to help them to feel safe in discussing things with you. Right? So if we understand where their brain is at that time, how they're even thinking and reasoning at that time, then we can then interact with them in a way that helps them to feel competent. Because I guarantee you, at 50, I can have a discussion with any kid and shoot them down. I can make them feel stupid. I could. So could you, couldn't you, Steve? Regina, couldn't you do that? We can do it. The thing is, why would we want to? And so we want to step back and go, okay, that's where that training comes in. It's not just this discussion, because we can get really irritated when a kid's arguing with us and their argument makes no sense. But we want to look at even those times as this is a training experience to help them to think clearer. Okay, listen, this and this and this, how does A plus B plus C equal D? And so we use it as a training, not just a, stop arguing with me, leave me alone. There are times we have to say, enough. I said it, go do it. And I'm not taking that away. Okay? There really are lots of times we say, okay, we're done now. But having that interaction creates a safety net for them to then ask us questions later, to explore things with us. And going into the teen years, it's really, really important. But the place you start that is when they're 2. And then 3. So we need to know where their brains are back then. And then 4, allowing them to have these discussions, to challenge us on stuff, to explore their environment in multiple ways. And so that's it, and then that logic comes in. But a lot of it's going to come through communication. Then they can, there's a subjective morality, okay? They can include the motives of the perpetrator. Okay, if you ask a 5-year-old, is it ever okay to steal? They say no. At this age, you can say, if you're starving and you have a baby at home, you have a 2-year-old at home and they're starving to death and they're going to die, is it okay to steal a loaf of bread? Most of this age is going to say yes. Because it's subjective. Now, it'd be better to just go tell your story and say, can I have a loaf of bread? Or to do it without stealing, right? But they're going to be able to do that. They're also, they're going to force stronger and really complex relationships, especially with those of the same sex. This is where some confusion comes in nowadays when you're looking at, I have kids that are in this age range that are already telling me they're gay. There is a very natural, intimate bond that kids will develop with same-sex friends. Has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It's nothing to do with sex. Why would we want any kid at 9 to 12 to be thinking about being sexually active with anybody, right? Whether it's same or different. So, but it is, we want that bond, and sometimes there's a confusion, and that's what's coming in from the media and other sources, is like, oh, well, you're a female, and you're sexually attracted to females because you feel this really close love for your best friend. No, it's not sexual. It's intimate because it's very close. It's not with everybody. You can have that really super closeness. I remember, I had a friend that, I can't remember, I think it was 6th grade that we became really good friends. Man, I could talk to her, I could see her at school, we could have classes together, I could even spend the night with her, I come home, I get on the phone with her. And I talked to her for 2 or 3 more hours. It was not sexual at all. But I really, and I would miss her. In high school, I hadn't talked to her in, I don't know, probably 10 years. So, but you can have that intimacy. So that's when you're going to have that. And it's really hard